Hello again, many thanks for choosing us. Now, the Bank of Ghana has rejected suggestions it's largely responsible for the current economic downturn. The World Bank, in its latest Africa Pulse report, among other reasons, cited delayed and insufficient monetary policy measures to deal with the worsening economic indicators, especially inflation. But speaking after a Monetary Policy Committee meeting, which saw the central bank increase the policy rate by 250 basis points to 24.5%, Governor Ernest says the measures are working.
And the fact that the World Bank is saying that we were even late, they are of the other view that the monetary policy tightening is the way to go, except that we are late by their assessment, which I also disagree with. Because if you would recollect, we started this policy tightening as far back as November 2021, right? It wasn't in January when we got locked out of the market that the MPC started tightening rates. We had already foreseen, issues of prices rising. And therefore, in November 2021, we did our first tightening of the monetary policy rate. We were even ahead of the Fed and some of the more advanced countries, in tightening our policy rate. And I believe even in sub-Saharan Africa, the Bank of Ghana was one of the first central banks that moved away from this easing of a monetary policy stance because of the impact of COVID, right? To the tightening stance, because we could see that it was about time that we had a shift in policy stance, because we were moving away from the impact of the pandemic into this new regime of higher inflation rates. Then the issue about whether we are seeing the impact, the transmission. In our view, this policy is working. And one of the things we focused on has been the monthly increases in the rate of inflation. If you look at it, you look at the monthly changes in inflation, there is some softening of the pace at which prices are rising. That obviously suggests that there is, at least some impact on the overall price level.
Meanwhile, an economist at the University of Ghana, Professor Charles Aka, disagrees with the governor. Speaking on PM Express Business Edition, he called for strong fiscal policies, including the cutting of taxes to yield growth and forestall a recession.
Yeah, I think that we need, first of all, the central bank to acknowledge that the times in which we are, the continuous tightening of the monetary policy, I don't think is optimal. It's making things more difficult and difficult, and it's not achieving the needed results, even though you could see that on a month-to-month basis, inflationary expectations seems to have slowed quite a bit. But since November that they started tightening the policy, inflation is going up. It's not only CPI, even the PPI. Producer price inflation is about 46%. Okay, so things are beginning to be tough. And they themselves made one acknowledgement. They said that, at the port, there's contraction at the port, and then construction activities have slowed down considerably. So I think, actually, the solution to this problem does not lie with the central bank. I don't want to blame them at all. I think they are doing what the textbook would tell them to do. It is the Minister of Finance, the fiscal policy, that has gone to sleep and needs to wake up immediately, because these are urgent, critical times. All over the world, especially in other countries in Asia, emerging market economy, advanced economy, they are running fiscal deficits. So if we as NDC, MPP, Ghanaians, media, we begin to be so afraid of deficit, and we see deficit as if they are wolves that are coming to kill all of us, then we'll have what we are having. 6.5% deficit in Ghana in this recession It's not dangerous. Every government must protect growth. Growth is more important than inflation. Public enemy number one, for me, is not inflation. Public enemy number one is recession, is sacrificing growth, unemployment. And I think that is very risky. It's a timing bomb if we continue to allow people, especially young people, to feel hopeless and to lose jobs and to be unable to survive, and government looks helpless, and we continue to increase the policy rate and things become... So I think that we need to call the Minister of Finance and say, please, you need to come in with some stimulus package. Some taxes must be reduced, including even the e-levy, which is actually becoming quite unpopular.
Let's do some analysis on this. Dr. Patrick Esumin is an economist at the University of Ghana Business School, and he joins us via Zoom. Doc, I don't know what your own thoughts of these issues are. First of all, let's start with the monetary policy measures. There's been a hike. The World Bank has said that in its report that the central bank essentially delayed in introducing some of these monetary policy measures, and eventually when they did, they were not sufficient. Now we've seen a hike. Do you think that is the way to go?
Good morning and good morning to viewers. So first of all, I think that, let's start with whether the Monetary Policy Authority delayed. I mean, with hindsight, we can say we should have done this, we should have done that. But my own view is that I think the criticism is a little bit unfair on the Bank of Ghana. I think, food inflation started rising a little bit earlier. In fact, the inflation started rising way back in June last year. But you have to understand that even though it was rising for a long time, we were still within the medium-term target band of 6 to 10%. And when it appears that we're getting out of the band, that is where I think in November, the central bank decided to start hiking the policy rate. And as to whether they should have been hiking every now and then, my own view is that the best central bankers are generally very conservative and they take their time. They are not trigger happy because when you change the policy rate, it takes a while for its effect to be felt, its full effect to go through the economy. So when you change it one time, you have to wait a little bit and see exactly how things are evolving. So, of course, at that time, you couldn't have seen the Russian-Ukraine war dragging on and all the other things that has happened within the economy. So, for me, I don't think that they were too slow in acting.
Right.
In terms of the magnitude and the rate at which they've been increasing the policy rate, it seems to me that now it's just gotten a little bit too far. It appears that, and I agree with my colleague Professor when he said that, I think initially maybe the first couple of increases seemed justified, but I think to go ahead and do the emergency 300 basis points and now another 250 basis points, it seemed to me that it's just gotten way out of hand. And I think...
Is it not because they have, I mean, it's not just inflation they are targeting, they're also looking at the exchange rate?
You see, if we go on that track, especially, I think recently it appears that the exchange rate is a bigger concern than even the inflation.
Right.
My own reading is that if we go that path, look, the advanced countries are now raising their policy rates. So if we decide to chase them and keep raising our rates, we will just take our economy into a recession. I think we should slow down. If you look at why, a big part of the reason why, we are seeing the currency depreciating is really the downgrade and foreigners losing a little bit of trust in the Ghanaian economy. The monetary policy rate won't solve that. We have to see some fundamental action happening on the government finances side, the fiscal policy side. That will convince people that now, the government is managing its books well, and it's okay to invest in the Ghanaian economy. I don't think if we can keep raising the policy rate, if that fundamental issue about our debt and our deficit and where we are going, if that's not addressed, I'm not sure any amount of additional rate increases will solve the problem. It's only put us at a higher risk of a recession.
So you agree with Professor Charles Aka that we need actually to look at the fiscal aspect, except that his point is that we need to spend, we need to encourage growth, but then there's the risk of further inflation. How do you balance that?
See, when you spend, it depends on how you spend and what you spend it on. If you you invest in agricultural production, the real sector, and the spending is generating enough productivity and enough goods and services, you shouldn't expect that that spending will be inflationary. It's when there's a lot of money spent, but that money hasn't generated sufficient goods and services, but it's generated additional demand. That is where the inflationary problem comes in. So I personally don't think that the government needs to raise the spending as much as to realign the way we are spending, because you see that agriculture is really suffering. Even though the numbers tell you that agri sector is growing, you see that we are doing way below our potential.
Yeah, but Doc, I'm not sure if we have so much as to realign. We may necessarily have to fund certain aspects of our expenditure of the good that we want to see. And that brings us to the point of, the central bank having to fund these at this time when it is also increasing the policy rate. I mean, is that the way to go, especially when we've been shut out of the international market?
I think for now, I mean, it looks like you are just giving a triple whammy to businesses. The persistent rises in the policy rate. So I would have preferred that we just cool down on that a little bit. Now, there are some things that have to be done on the revenue side, on the fiscal side. We need short-term measures and we need medium-term measures. The medium-term measures should be things that will convince people that going forward, the Ghanaian economy is going to return to a sustainable path, sustainable growth, as well as sustainable government finances. Now, exactly what that would take could be a number of things. I think, I still believe that, if you read, what we receive from the Auditor General's report and other things, you see there's a lot of inefficiency in public expenditure. So when I say we should realign, that's what we mean. We should cut the waste and then invest, especially in agricultural production, and make sure that fertilizer prices going up and other farming inputs going up and lack of, water to fuel agriculture in the midst of flooding. We deal with those ones to build a more sustainable food system and agricultural production. That kind of investment is in public is not going to be inflationary. So for me, I think the first couple of increases you could explain. I think the last two rounds of increases are just difficult to justify, given the current circumstances. I think we have to let the fiscal policy deal with what they have to deal with. From the monetary side, I think the central bank has done enough.
Right.
So it's really up to the finance ministry to also pick up the slack.
Thank you very much, Dr. Patrick Esumin. Thank you very much indeed. That's an economist at the University of Ghana Business School. Now, away from that, JoyNews checks reveal activities of illegal miners are rife in the Bosomefreho district, especially in the Bosomtwe Forest Reserve. President Akufo-Addo on Wednesday announced that government's interest to investigate the district chief executive, Yao Danso, over his alleged involvement in illegal mining is still ongoing. My colleague Ohimen Teya gives an insight into recent concerns raised on mining in the forest reserve.
Close to the size of 2 football pitches has been destroyed and the forest cover removed by illegal miners who are bent on getting the precious mineral.
Bosomtwe Range Forest Reserve has become a hotbed for illegal mining activities in recent times. Section of the reserve in Menti at the Kabunso and Danso has been targeted by Galamsey operators. Deputy Minister of Lands in charge of forestry, Benito Owusu-Bio, during a visit to the reserve on August 22, 2022, described as endemic the activities of illegal miners. He led a team of officers from the ministry, which included the Chief Executive of the Forestry Commission, John Alote.
Range Forest Reserve in the Bosome-Frehon district of Ashanti region, to be precise. This is the third time I'm coming to actually this spot, and I think this place is very endemic with illegal activities.
The visit followed an intervention from the military task force to flush out illegal miners who had destroyed several hectares of the forest. Mr. Usubiu was unhappy there had been little support from the district security committee in the area, headed by Yao Danso, to the illegal mining fight.
The DISEC, the district security, the district assembly, they must be up in doing, because they are here. We in Accra cannot come here all the time. They must be up in doing. They must cooperate with our district managers on the ground, and that will help to stem the tide and the wave of illegal mining activities.
This is River Minty. It is crystal clear upstream here, but down there it has been destroyed by illegal miners.
This was the fourth time in 1 year the Forestry Commission had responded to operations of illegal miners in the Bosome-Frehon district. Questions, however, remain unanswered why the portion of the Bosomtwi Range Forest Reserve is a hotbed for illegal miners. From Kumasi, for JoyNews, Oyementiria reporting.
Let's do some other stories here on Newsdesk. And the Dean of the School of Business at the University of Cape Coast, Professor John Gachi, has asserted that the failure to deal with the increasing activities of illegal miners would lead to dire consequences. He detailed that the canker, popularly called galamsey, would not only affect the safety of food crops and the health of residents, but could also lead to street terrorism, among others. Speaking at the World Teachers' Day celebration in Home, he entreated teachers to play their roles in the fight against galamsey.
Our communities are now exposed to callous and damaging activities of illegal mining operators. Our major water bodies are polluted and contaminated with different hazardous chemicals that will aggravate diseases relating to internal organs such as the liver, kidney, and the heart, as well as eye problems. Unfortunately, the failure to deal with this terrible situation is being trivialized with sweet leadership comment. The reality is that every part of Ghana will soon be affected by galamsey. We will soon be faced with food terrorism, chemically induced agricultural produce, and be burdened with cost of procuring drugs to treat unwarranted associated sicknesses. Illegal mining and its effect on the environment, health, education, agriculture, and national security is showcasing the state is anemic and powerless. Military task forces were deployed. Major Mahama was killed in the process. Excavators were seized and returned to those known to be politically connected. The impression of weakness is disturbing. Do we want to say we do not have what it takes to stop this, to save Ghana? It is clear that pollution of water bodies and crime against the environment are crimes against humanity. Why is the state docile?
Now, one body has been retrieved from the receded flood water at Tetegu. The body of the 55-year-old man was found in his room, trapped between his bed and sofa. Scores of residents who fled their homes on Tuesday when the flood water rose to deadly levels are now returning. Maxwell Adba is at the residence of the deceased person and joins me live. Maxwell, give us the details of this rather sad turn of events.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, yes, we're coming to you live from Tetegu, where the flood water has started receding We've seen that in many parts, many of the affected areas. Previously, when we came here on Tuesday, it was difficult getting access to many of the areas, but today we're able to drive to a lot of the homes without any difficulty. The floodwaters have receded, actually, and you can see from this house, very close to a channel at the back here which connects to the ocean. And they experienced the intensity of the flood water here. And this is the residence of the 55-year-old man who died, unfortunately, in this flood. He's the first known person to have died in this flood. In fact, we've been speaking to our sources at the National Disaster Management Organization. They tell us that they've not had any report about someone dying in the flood, but we spoke to our police source, a source at the Ghana Police Service, and that source confirmed to us that indeed a 55-year-old man died. He directed us to this residence, and we are here together with some of the family, members. So that is a building. That is the structure where the body was discovered. The body of the 55-year-old man was discovered. As you can see, this man working, all of his properties destroyed, by the flood. I think good morning.
Morning.
What's your first name?
Vero.
Okay. But your matter say una body no a dime hono.
Aye.
But your catching na my friend saying
a friend
Jochuluchu. No any pa benza. What kind of person was he? Matisse area mo na obi
anim no. Nsi no ba no me ko fa matare na me hia no fom se. Oda ho no.
Okay, nti na ukofa watare wo edan no ho no.
Ame so oda ho. Na mako frame me no say.
Okay.
On be hwe say e bra no da ho.
The last time mo hu no ye da ben.
Oh, Monday na Sunday na e da ho no. Sana Monday na Tuesday me come market.
Was it last time mo hu no ye da ben Tuesday?
There be Monday.
Okay, last time mo hu no ye Monday.
Monday. Me ni na da ho. On sana e come market. Me so la machi come market.
Okay. Or you which ni ana? Or dey.
He me bra.
Okay. Well, so we are listening to a sister of the deceased, and he was the one who saw the body in that room over there. And he says they were together, they were in the same room on Monday and until before she left him to go to the market. She says Monday was the last time, they saw him. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, this whole place was flooded. And then yesterday, when she went to the room to pick her clothes, that was when she discovered or saw the body of her brother. Inti body no sano at that point no dia
na me see Jesus na me go frame me no ase hwe me ne em say ebra na wuda dem ho yes na o se me yedin yo inti me ba na me go bo me bra nyamane say ebra da ho.
Okay. Well, she said she was shocked when she saw the body, and then she told another sister about what she saw in that room. Inti is your call a demo when you know?
But any bebre.
Okay. Wow. So you can see the flat mark there on that building, and that was a structure where the deceased was before he died. He was in that room. You can see the flat mark there. So that was the level of the water. The body was discovered in that room. I have another relative here with me. Hi, what's your name?
My name is Mercy.
Come again.
Mercy.
Mercy, what's your last name?
Mercy Chipoko.
Okay. He's the deceased.
Uncle.
The deceased is your uncle.
Please, yes.
When was the last time you heard from him?
I think that was last week. Last week I saw him. That was my last time of seeing him.
What was the last time you saw him?
because I moved here on Monday in the afternoon. Okay. How the river is coming is too much, and I don't know how to swim, so I left here early.
You were telling me earlier that...
So I was there yesterday. When I had a call, they found him dead in the room.
Okay. Wow. So the water level was at what, your waist level? Was at your waist?
At my waist level.
Wow. And that was why you left home? Yes. When I came here earlier, I saw you crying. How did you get the news? Who informed you about it?
Yesterday, one of my auntie called me and told me we've lost him. They found his body dead in the room.
Wow. Do you think he was frail or weak to the point that he couldn't?
I can't really tell. I can't really tell.
So then, what's the next move for the family?
Now we are going to find a date for his burial.
What would you miss about him? What will you miss about him?
Oh, he was one person. He was a good man, a calm man. He was free. He was a free person. Oh, seriously, he was a free person. I could say, "Area muhanya na oni obi ani asem."
Yeah. And so, bien sunim no, yeah, ba no.
Bien nim no, obi enim no. Oni obi ani asem. He was a cool person.
Is your friend? Okay, sure. Okay, well, there's another man here who. They're laughing because another man here is saying that it's his friend, and he said they drink together. How what you say? We from time and I would say we from one of them.
Senior man, na nsu no about too much. Oh, here say me fie ni. Yeah. Ana mete. Yeah. Me den me neman na say. Me senior man do no. Na no na nsu ne ba no bia say no. Me hu say na oba fie. Ba na me ka
nsu ne yiwi no hu say na oba fie.
No, say oba fie.
O catch us oba fie.
Oh, say me no ko twa bi twa one thought.
Okay.
No, say oba fie. What I say? Until oba fie na anopai na say enra anopai na so mo te say senior man na wa firim. Okay. What I say? Tenya na nsu no dia beta.
Hu no, wo say da be na hu no Monday no.
Nsu no start na me free choice by me hu no senior man.
Okay. When say na oba fie.
Na oba fie.
Okay. Nti uko hu body no inside na.
Oh, body no dey me be lo mo so aban fo abefa body no e de ne ko. Yeah, omo de ne ko.
Well, just to summarize what he's saying, he says they used to drink together, and then on Monday he saw him at the point when the flood water was rising. He saw him coming, here, and they had a short conversation. And then later he got to know that, he died in the flood water. So that's it. The water level has gone down completely. It has receded. Now, a lot more people are coming home to see what they can do next, to pick up the pieces. Earlier, we were on the main road. We saw a lot of them arriving in their vehicles. Those who were able to flee with their cars are returning, in them. Those who left their cars on their compounds are coming back to see the damage caused to their properties. So this is a church. It's a Prince of Peace Evangelical Ministry. It also got flooded, and from here I can see the flood marking here. You can see the level of the water here in this room. Everything destroyed. Musical. Oh, okay, you're a member. What sorry ni ana?
I'm sorry ni.
Bibia say ana.
Bibia say wo aha. Yemfa akonyapo ya fashi.
One fashi. Musical instrument bibia say.
Eni bi ani na say. Yemfa shi wa sorry them. I sorry them I to me ura sorry them mpo. Ti enema nyina say.
She says everything completely destroyed here in this church, and now what they are doing now is to clean the place. Sunday we show me to me now so
Sunday yen to me ya sorry yen to me yeshui. He say be say mu ansa. Be say mu ansa. and son yeah sorry but yeah sorry be next 2 weeks time and son yeah sorry
okay, but that's it. Well, what she's telling me is that there'll be no service on Sunday because of the situation here. So there's no church on Sunday. If there'll be church service, she says it will be next 2 weeks. Now I want to take you to right behind this structure is the channel that connects to the ocean. So all the water from the Wager Dam and the spillage from, the Wager Dam is directly behind, these structures. These structures you see over here. So they really felt they experienced the intensity of the water that was coming, from upstream. You can see Sylvester Kwame is a student's shop boss. Is it trunk? No, that's trunk. Yeah, trunk out there. Let's get closer and have a look at what it is like here. So some of these buildings, we've been told by the Ghana Water Company Limited, are in waterway, and they tell us that they're actually part of the problem, part of the flooding situation that the people here are experiencing. If you go a bit upstream also, you see some people, some buildings up there, in the buffer of the Ghana Water Company Limited. The Ghana Water Company Limited has been telling us that it is dangerous for these structures, to be here. That is because they are blocking the passage, of the water, and when that happens, the terrible and the serious devastation that we saw on Tuesday is what is likely, to happen. So you can see all of these big structures. Some of them very, very, very close to this channel that connects directly to the ocean. So that's the situation here at Tetigu. We'll be visiting a lot more areas to interact with the residents who are returning, home after the flood when the flood waters actually rose to dangerous levels. Reporting for JoyNews, Maxwell Agbagba, live from Tetigu.
Maxwell, thank you very much for that report, and we'll be bringing you more from those areas in our subsequent bulletins. Now, President of the Ghana Catholic Bishops' Conference, Most Reverend Philip Name, says the most effective way to ensure the peace and stability of the country is for government to invest in creating a favorable environment for the youth to thrive. Now, he said, with the increase in terrorist activities in our neighboring countries, government needs to intensify efforts to create jobs and other opportunities for the youth in order for them not to be attracted to offers by these militant groups who may want to lure them and recruit them into their fold. Most Reverend Name was speaking at the launch of the Sahel Peace Initiative at Bolgatanga in the Upper East region. From where correspondent Albert Torrey reports.
The Sahel Peace Initiative is a project by the Catholic Relief Services. The initiative seeks to focus attention on the growing crisis within the Sahel region of Africa. The Sahel region of Africa includes parts of northern Senegal, southern Mauritania, central Mali, northern Burkina Faso, the extreme south of Algeria, Niger, the extreme north of Nigeria, Cameroon, the Central African Republic, among a few others. With the growing threats of extremist activities in these areas, the Sahel Peace Initiative has been set up in conjunction with the various Catholic Bishops' Conferences of West Africa to raise awareness about these threats, work with stakeholders to find solutions, and respond to the associated humanitarian crisis. Daniel Mumuni is country representative at the Catholic Relief Services.
We hear today that more than 50% of Burkina Faso is now controlled by the jihadists. And it calls for urgent attention, particularly for coastal countries within the sub-region. Recently, we saw what happened in Togo. As we've seen, many refugees are now running into Ghana. Recently, we saw so many Burkinabes coming into the country. So how do we mobilize church action, stakeholder action, using intergenerational and interreligious strategies to help combat and protect Ghana from these extremist tendencies?
The Ghana launch of the Sahel Peace Initiative was held here in Bolgatanga. In attendance were religious leaders from various faiths and denominations, chiefs and other traditional rulers, security agencies, civil society organizations, and other stakeholders in the security sector.
So after the launch, we've lined up a series of activities, including trainings, sensitization activities, developing early warning systems. There's also an assessment component to identify the hotspots so that the needed intervention can be implemented. There's a mediation component as well.
Delivering the keynote address, President of the Catholic Bishops' Conference and Metropolitan Archbishop of Tamale, Most Reverend Philip Name, said the most effective way to ensure the peace and stability of the country is for governments to invest the country's resources in creating a favorable environment for the youth to succeed in the country.
If the resources of Ghana are used to build up Ghana, it should be so done that every Ghanaian benefits, especially our youth. You do it otherwise, you create the environment for our youth to be very vulnerable to the terrorist groups. Because if you don't create an environment in the country where our youth will always prefer to remain in Ghana rather than taking all kinds of risks to go out to where they imagine are greener pastures, we will have our youth seeing no opportunities for them in the country, the only country they have and to which they belong.
He also admonished government to intensify the presence of the security forces at the country's borders.
I personally appeal to the President to particularly make visible the security agencies in those parts of the north that are bordering with other countries. I would say vulnerable to the jihadist invasion. So that anybody coming in to recruit young people will know that not far from the border, they can be resisted there and then.
The launch of the Sahel Peace Initiative in Bolgatanga has come at a time when peace and security have been volatile in areas such as Boko, Doba, and Kandega. Upper East Regional Minister Stephen Yakubu said the launch of the Sahel Peace Initiative in the region was timely.
Now, the Electricity Company of Ghana has expressed disappointment in the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission for failing to hear them before issuing a directive to pay customers compensation for the loss suffered as a result of a system failure. The regulator issued the directive after more than a week of frustration for hundreds of ECG customers nationwide. And we'll bring you details of that statement later. But speaking at a news conference Thursday, the chief executive for the ECG, Samuel Mahama, said it will deal with the situation on case-by-case basis.
Everybody who has a problem should follow the grievance process and go through PURC to start the process, and we will deal with it on a case-by-case basis. I still stand by that. It cannot be a block compensation to everybody, because what we are also seeing is that just by one person saying something, there were panic buys. There were people that didn't need to form queues but were in the queues. So how do I compensate somebody who I shouldn't compensate? In the case of compensation, you have to prove damages, and there's a process for that. We thank PURC for putting out that notice as per their guidelines. It's quite unfortunate that they didn't give us an opportunity to explain our side of the story before they put out that statement. it would have been prudent for them to have heard from us, know what exactly transpired before putting out that statement. But that being said, they are an integral part of our sector. They are a regulator, and we are guided by their rules and regulations. And so we look forward to having a fair hearing. We look forward to putting together the requisite grievance procedures and then requisite team. And then whichever complaints come up, we'll take them on a case-by-case basis.
And you're watching News Desk with me, Ernest. We're taking a break. When we return, Daryl brings us the latest in business.
Hi, good morning. Welcome to Business. My name is Daryl Kwao. 59 small and medium-scale green businesses in the Ashanti region have been given the opportunity to showcase their eco-friendly products to the public. The S&V Regional Trade Show is aimed at promoting green products and services to boost the growth of the local economy. It is also supporting sustainable startups and SMEs in the green sector for job creation. There is more in this report.
Second edition of the Green Regional Trade Show is intended to stimulate exchanges within the circular economy. The exhibitors were selected from businesses in agriculture, renewable energy and energy efficiency, and water, sanitation and hygiene sectors. Items on display at the 5-day event included attires and accessories made with African fabrics and plastic waste, beauty and hair products, and eco-friendly electrical appliances. Genevieve Pakachum is Senior Incubation and Acceleration Advisor on Green Project.
Basically, we've been supporting SMEs in an incubation program. And they've had a lot of training in business development and business management, but we thought that having a trade show gives them a good platform to showcase their products to the world and to show that indeed it's possible to do a profitable business that also protects the environment. And so that's why we have the trade show going on today.
Ashanti Regional Director of Trade and Industry, Osman Mahmouda, was impressed at the exhibitions. He reiterated the government's commitment to build the capacities of businesses.
I'm really impressed with the product I see here. We are happy, we from Ministry of Trade and Industry are happy about this development because as part of our mandate is to help develop these SMEs. That is why we have the Ghana Enterprise Agency, their district offices we call the Business Advisory Centers, and of which we have also created business resource centers in 7 places in the Ashanti region to help these SMEs.
The SMEs under the 6-month Green Incubation and Acceleration programs attracted patrons from parts of Kumasi Metropolis. Some of them spoke to JoyNews.
Most of the banks, institutions at Edum, started supplying them with most of our juice, and that's how come e-juice came into the market. We are certified with food and drugs. We've won several awards. Total startup of the year, I was the second runner-up.
We want Dawadawa to be the next cash crop of Ghana. So currently we have the Dawadawa powder and beans. We have shito made with Dawadawa. And then we have honey.
Meanwhile, some 51 green SMEs in Ashanti and Western regions received a total matching grant of over 1.3 million Ghana cedis.
And then with this fund, 23,000 Ghana cedis, I actually need some machinery like the hydraulic juice presser. Yes, that will help me to naturally extract the juice without losing any nutrients from it. Yes, so that money is actually going to help me to procure that. That is about 15,000. And then I'm going to get cold press dispenser.
This funding, you see, I'm scaling up, okay? And you know, when you scale up, you will need to employ more. Yes. So this funding will help me to acquire a solar irrigational system for like 6 acres of land. I have 10 acres, so now I will be able to power the whole 6 acres.
For JoyNews, Emmanuel Bright-Kweku reporting.
Now, the Association of Ghana Industries has urged businesses to position themselves to take advantage of available grants by implementing the right structures such as good corporate governance and record keeping. Its Chief Executive Chuma Kwaba believes that is the only way the small and medium enterprises can scale up. He was speaking to Joy Business after interacting with SMEs in the Western and Central regions.
Pointed out that most of the SMEs need a lot of work to do in order to upskill their businesses. Said Chum Akobua was speaking at the 19th Annual General Meeting, which coincided with a workshop for its members in the Western and Central regions in Takoradi on the theme, leveraging public-private collaboration to accelerate sustainable industrial development. He mentioned that the AGI will continue to work efficiently to meet the needs of the business community through effective national and international engagement.
We are able to assess the market out there. It is good for us because you get bigger market. On the other hand, if you are not able to assess it and others are also entering your market, they are taking your market away. So either way it's important. You have to watch your own market. You have to be sure that you prepare to at least consolidate your stay here instead of your market being taken away. For that reason, you must always position yourself. So apart from making sure that you consolidate your local market, you must also explore the outside market. So a combination of the two is important. But in doing so, for us and as an association, what we can do, what we have been doing is giving a lot of information to the members. Let them be aware of the various opportunities that exist. Let them be aware of the market arrangements that are available. Let them be aware of the requirements of the whole ASCFTA system, the rules of origin and all that. So if you know all this, then it's relatively easier to take advantage of it. So education is key. In addition to education, we work with government ministries and agencies, Ghana Export Promotion Authority, and the embassies abroad to try and harness market opportunities. If you make market opportunities available for them, then they can take advantage of it.
Chairman of AGI in the Western and Central regions, Joseph Gabra, noted that currently the private sector finds it difficult to operate as its cost of materials has become high and thus affect the cost of doing business. He therefore called on government to collaborate with the industry to chart a competitive path in order to build and sustain the greater economy for jobs and shared prosperity.
Price of oil, gas, and certain agri products have risen, intensifying inflation pressures. Price hikes and shortages have thus disrupted several industrial productions and severely threatened the survival of most businesses and livelihoods.
All right, and that business pause is coming up next, so stay tuned.
Time now for sports, and Lawrence is here to keep us up to date. Lawrence, I know that the Women's League is here.
Yeah, the Women's Premier League. With the Ghana Premier League on hold, probably the Women's Premier League will be the thing to talk about from now until the Ghana Premier League. Or it should be side by side, so we talk about both. But then once one is absent, we focus on the other.
Yeah.
So the league starts today. And I'm excited because not too many people pay attention to the women's league. But then with the absence of the men's own,
all the attention will now be but hopefully it means that, of course, the media would also have to do a lot of work on that.
For us on our side, we started yesterday when we did a special preview for it. Yeah, so there are 4 debutants in this season's campaign. 2 from the Northern Zone. You know the Women's Premier League has been divided into 2 zones.
Okay.
The Northern Zone and then the Southern Zone.
Right.
So the Northern Zone consists of the teams in the Kumasi side, the Tamale, while the Southern part consists of the teams in the Southern
belt of the country.
Yep.
Okay.
So Socrates, Asiam Socrates, Rich City Ladies will be the teams representing the Southern Zone.
Okay.
While Tamale Super Ladies and then Candy Soccer Academy will be the other teams representing the Northern Zone. So last season, Ampem Dakwa won it. They will be looking to defend their title. They kickstart their campaign on Saturday as well. But for the Southern Zone, these are the fixtures that we'll be having over the weekend. Red City and then Asiam Ladies, the 2 debutants will meet in their first game. So it will be a revenge for Red City because in the middle league, they lost to Asiam Socrates. Azakes Ladies will play Berry Ladies. This has been more like a derby in the Southern Belt.
Yeah.
Thunder Queens play Police Ladies, Soccer Intellectuals, and then Faith Ladies also battle. And then Lady Strikers will play Army Ladies in the Southern Belt of the Ghana Premier League.
I must confess, I've not really followed keenly the Women's League, but this time around, yeah.
You should pay attention. I think there's been some talent in there over the past years. Recently, we saw Philomena Abaka move to Tanzania, Simba Queens, due to her exploits in the Ghana Premier League. So once we have teams playing good and then obviously doing well, we have their teams. So these are also the fixtures for the Northern Zone. Topia Ladies against Prisons Ladies. That will kickstart the season because that match is taking place today.
Okay.
There's Tamale Super Ladies and the National Ladies, Ampem Dakuna Northern Ladies, Supreme Ladies, and then Candice Okaka.
So the matches are happening concurrently in the Northern and Southern belts?
Southern belts.
Okay, I see. That's interesting. I see they have a sponsor as well.
Oh yeah, Mota Guinness, the headline.
Good. Lawrence, thank you very much for the update. And so that's our show this morning. Thank you very much for your company. We have more stories on myjoyonline.com. I'm back at midday with more news. Please stay with JoyNews.